What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I love this. This is the type of video that every single person with TDS out there, they won't watch all the way through. They will refuse to watch this all the way through because the information that's coming out in this video shatters their worldview about Trump's tariffs. Oh yeah, we're talking tariffs again, by the way. We are talking tariffs again. And I love doing these videos because all these people that always come into the comments section and say you're stupid. No, it's American citizens are the only ones that pay taxes, pay the cost of the tariffs. Yeah, that's it. No, sorry, that is not. And once again, I can make video after video after video proving this otherwise. Once again, now, like I always say, sure, the tariffs, you're gonna pay a little bit extra for it, but the companies are gonna absorb a lot of that tariff. And once again, I've made video after video proving this otherwise. Check this out, y'all. Adidas, Puma expected to hike prices due to tariffs following Nike's lead. Moment they were waiting for. Oh, here we go, y'all. Check this out. You gotta love this. And I know what the Democrats in the comment section are doing. They're just typing away their hateful comments. See, I told you they're gonna raise the price because of the tariffs.
Sir.
Yeah, but guess how much by? Like, this is what I'm saying with this, folks. I'm not saying that they're not going to affect prices. Never said that. I've never, ever said that. But what I am saying is they are going to absorb some of that cost. So, for all you people out there that want to tax the corporations and all that next, tax the rich, blah, 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 blah. I even had somebody come into the comment section the other day and tell me, oh, we don't want to tax the corporations. We just want to tax the billionaires. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. You do want to tax the corporations, as a matter of fact, because that's what we hear all the time. The corporations and the billionaires, they need to pay their fair share. Well, you know what? The billionaires and the millionaires and those people, they do pay their fair share, and I've proven this outright several times. All you got to do is a simple Google search will show you that. Simple Google search. The top 10% pay 40% of the taxes. I think it's the top 20% pay like 80-something% of all taxes. It's insane. I forget the exact numbers right off the top of my head. So the rich do pay their fair share, as a matter of fact. What you want to tax is the corporations. Because the corporations, that's where all the loopholes are, quote-unquote loopholes. But that's just how the tax code is writ, folks. There is no loopholes in tax policy. That is just how it is written. It is written that way on purpose to incentivize companies to come to this country. There's so many deductions that they can just write this off, write this off, write this off, write this off. That's what it's for. It is meant to make the economy grow. That is what our whole economic system is based upon, is growing economies. The economy has to grow. Otherwise, it's going to crumble, which is a ridiculous system. You know, I don't understand why we can't stagnate, but we don't want stagnation. I mean, but why is that a bad thing if the economy's just moving along at a steady pace? Hey, I'm not an economist. I just understand logic and understand how reality works. Hey, that's how it works. Stagnation is a very bad thing, apparently. But we always need growth. We got to have growth. Got to have growth. But let's get into this. Adidas and Puma are likely to hike prices for running shoes and sportswear in the United States following Nike's lead, analysts and investors said on Thursday, as U.S. tariffs on imports drive costs up for retailers. Nike on Wednesday said it would raise prices next week, charging up to $10 more for shoes currently costing more than $150, while keeping prices for products under $100 stable. Oh my goodness, is that so? So, hang on just a second. Does that mean that the tariffs aren't going to affect products that are less than $100? No, that's not what that means at all. The tariffs are still going to affect those very products as well. But what does that mean? The company is absorbing 100% of the tariff for any product that's under $100. Any product over $150, right? Up to $10. Now, hang on just a second. Some of those countries like China, right? They have a 34% tariff. Nike, I think Nike's based in Vietnam, and currently they only have a 10% tariff, which, hang on, by the way, 10% of $150 is what? It's $15. It's not $10. And you notice they said up to $10. Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be $10. Certain products have certain price hikes, but it's not the whole thing. So these companies are starting to pay their fair share in taxes. That is what we have going on here. But once again, folks, the left, Democrats, and all these economists, these leftist economists, they're yelling and screaming and gnashing their teeth that you are the only person that's going to pay for these tariffs. They are lying to you, folks. Don't buy into the narrative. When these political pundits start speaking in absolutes, you got to be wary about what they are saying. When they're like, you are the only one that pays for... Are you sure about that? Like, are you really sure about that? Because that is not how the economy works, by the way. But I just love this, because this narrative that's out there, the Democrats, like I was saying, the Democrats, they are on the side of making the rich people and the corporations pay their fair share. But when Trump does it, all of a sudden it's a bad thing. Oh, this is going to crash the economy. The sky is falling once again. You know, the tariff sky is falling on top of our heads, and they're trying to warn you. But that's not really a fear that we should have, by the way. It really isn't. Sure, prices for certain things are going to go up a little bit. Prices always go up. They never go back down. However, what is fascinating about this is, you know, inflation is still going down, folks. Currently, the last inflation numbers we had were the lowest since 2021. Huh. Doesn't sound like prices are going up, does it? It is the biggest sportswear company by sales and market cap. That was the moment Adidas and Puma were waiting for, said Robert Krankowski, sporting goods analyst at UBS. Both German sportswear brands recently said they would not be the first movers in raising prices, instead waiting to see what rivals do. So once again, folks, this is something else. If Nike would have just decided not to raise prices, for goodness sakes, then they wouldn't have raised their price either. That's something else I've been yelling and screaming. The price changes based upon the market. It's not going to be based upon how much that company is paying in taxes, essentially, right? You can't just raise the price out of nowhere. The sales are going to go down, for goodness sakes. All your competitors, you know, all those sales that people decided, well, I'm not going to buy that because the price went up too much. They're going to go somewhere else and buy products. And your sales are going to get hurt even further. So these companies, they're wary about raising prices. Oh, but when they do, when somebody actually does, then the market reacts and everything comes up just a little bit. But once again, folks, you know, it is what it is. That's just how the market works. But this company isn't going to raise its prices too high, because once again, if they do, their sales are going to plummet. And they're going to go out of business eventually if they do that. They're eventually going to have to bring the price back down so sales can go back up. This is all very, very basic stuff. But the corporate press, they don't count on you thinking about these things when they tell you that prices are going to shoot through the roof. This is going to crash the economy. The sky is going to fall on top of your head, and you're going to be injured because of it. People are going to be hurt. This disproportionately affects the bottom rung. It does. But does it? We should probably expect a similar decision from both Adidas and Puma, because this is not Nike specific. It is an industry issue. Right. The prices are probably going to go up, but this entire news article is speculation based upon a news story, which I clicked on this to get the actual news story that Nike was raising its prices, and then I saw this one, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to cover this because you get the news, and you also get a little bit of fluff over here, and everybody likes a little bit of fluff, right? Everyone will be impacted by the tariffs, Krankowski added. President Trump has imposed a blanket 10% tariff on all imports and hit China with a higher tariff of 30%. More worrying for sportswear brands, the key footwear and clothing manufacturer hub of Vietnam faces the threat of a steep 46% tariff returning in July. Yeah, if they don't come to the negotiating table, the tariffs are going to go up and up and up and up. Nike described the announced price increase as part of its normal seasonal planning without mentioning tariffs. That's right. Puma said Thursday it is in talks with its U.S. partners, but has not decided whether or how it would adjust prices. Adidas did not immediately reply to requests for comment on its pricing plans. Historically, when the lead brand adjusts its prices, competitors tend to follow suit shortly thereafter, said Federico Boren, an analyst with Giannis Henderson. How high other brands raise prices will depend on their assessments of U.S. shoppers' willingness to pay, which varies based on how in demand their sneakers or running shoes are. Adidas, which has enjoyed a surge in sales thanks to trendy vintage shoes such as the $100 Samba and the $120 Gazelle, could easily raise prices, said Simon Yeager, portfolio manager at Flossbach von Storch in Cologne, Germany, which holds shares in Adidas and Nike. Nike's price increases are relatively modest, Yeager added, but what concerns me more is that the U.S. consumer in general is not as strong as a couple of years ago. Yeah, that's right. So they are scared to raise their prices, folks. That's what that tells you right there. They don't want the price to go up. They want to keep prices low so they can boost sales. As a matter of fact, if Adidas and Puma keep sales low, a lot of those Nike customers are going to buy Puma or Adidas because they're cheaper, or they'll go to Reebok, they'll go somewhere else, right? They're not going to buy the Nikes. That's why it's such a risk to raise the price. That's why most of the companies will absorb that tariff if they can, even if they don't want to, right? Even if the tariff is kind of high, right? If their overhead allows for it. If they can still keep their regular house and their beach home, the CEOs or whatever, they can still keep their payroll essentially. Oh, they'll cut the overhead all the way down to almost nothing if they've got to keep sales, to keep the company going, folks. And this is what the corporate press, once again, they don't tell you these things. They just tell you, they just fearmonger constantly. Oh, the sky is falling, the tariff sky is falling. And you're going to be hit by it. It's you. You're going to be disproportionately affected over here. That's just not the case, folks. It is just not the case. And once again, time and time again, I'm knocking down those narratives, and I keep getting called a liar. Well, here's more proof. I don't know what else to tell you guys out there. I seriously don't. Right? I'm not saying the prices aren't going to go up a little bit. Because, for goodness sakes, they probably will. But what I am saying is this is a genius move on Trump's behalf. Because, sure, prices might go up slightly, which isn't really going to affect your pocketbook all that much. But the corporations are getting taxed now. He's not taxing the corporations in the United States. He's taxing the corporations from the rest of the world. What president has ever imposed a tax on companies in other countries, for goodness sakes? I know it was done a long time ago, but that was a different era. A vastly different era. And what I love about this is the logical disconnect, once again, from Democrats hating this move, and yet still they're large proponents of taxing the wealthy and taxing the corporations, for goodness sakes. And they don't realize the logical disconnect there. They just don't see it for some reason. And I love that. I just love that. I'll eat that crap up. But I think I've been rambling for a while, so y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. And look, I need y'all's help. Subscribe if you're new around here. We cover corporate press manipulations and we read the news, for goodness sakes. Sign up, become a member, help me deliver the news to you guys. That's the best way, the second best way to help me out. I would really appreciate if y'all would sign up, become a member, and help this movement of pushing back against the corporate press manipulations. You know, help me help you guys. And y'all share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. That's the best way. That's the number one best way to help me out, is to share this video. Tell your friends, tell your family, hey, go check this guy out, blah, 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 blah. But outside of all that, y'all try to have a good day. Stay logical. Peace.